Oh, come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite of all subjects, stage names. Now, a lot of times people make up stage names for a variety of reasons. Okay, some of the most common of all is, my name's John Smith. There are 4 billion John Smiths in the world. I want to distinguish myself as an artist, kind of thing. Okay, so that's one of the things you have to think about as an actor, and you have to think about this as a student. And sometimes you have to think about it right away. Now, for me, for example, hi, I'm Christopher Stewart. That's first name, middle name, not last. Why? Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Christopher Stewart. I am an Interpol officer with the international police organization known as Interpol. I am part of Interpol's proud department of Interpol Does Not Hide. However, because of this, you're not going to know my last name. And even if you think you know my last name, it might actually not be my last name. Okay? And that's the thing, too much police work, too much espionage work, too much everything work, all silent, nobody knows anything, and you can't either. Okay? But that's okay. I'm not the only federal agent, special agent, world-known agent in the world who's also an actor. Okay? Now, one of the primary things about this is when you come up with, this is what you're going to say. Okay, you're going to be your first name, you're going to be your middle name. Stick to it. Okay? Then be yourself. That's the most important rule. Come up with the final decision, stick to it, and be yourself. Because that way, on set, if a director starts talking to you, he wants to know exactly who you are. Okay, one of the most famous directors for this is John Carpenter, who will literally look at you periodically and go, "Don't give me that damn nom de plume stuff, I hate it. Now tell me who you are, who can I call you by?" Okay? Then he may laugh and look at you and go, "Christopher, I have 16 of them on the set. How can I differentiate you?" And then you go, "Hi, I'm Judder." And he goes, "Okay, all right, be Judder. Fine." That's working with John Carpenter. It's a lot of fun sometimes on set. Quite often, directors won't even really give a damn what your name is because they're just going to call you by your character name anyway. They're going to sit there and go, "Yo, Gandalf, hey, Bilbo, why aren't you here yet?" Okay, and they're doing that sometimes on purpose. They're doing it to keep you in character at all times. Okay? We had one actor we worked with in Italy who said, "I am," and he gave his character name, and he said, "Please don't call me anything other than that or I'll jump out of character and I'll start bursting out laughter and I'll never get back into character." And I just look at him and go, "Very well, dear Count." And because he was playing a vampire, he snapped right into character as a vampire every time I said that. It was great, but that's the kind of fun you can have with names. Okay? Relax about stage names. Your stage name is nothing. The only thing your stage name is this is what I'm telling the credit department to credit me as. Okay? That's your name and lights. Okay? But that's the other side of the coin. Stop thinking about fame. Think about the work aspect. The work aspect is you want to be yourself. You want people to like you for who you are, remember you for who you are, and be able to contact your agent for who you are. Okay? No one's going to care 15 years ago whether or not you were John Smith in the credits. They're going to call you by your name from what they knew you. Okay? There are still people today that sit there totally amazed when they look at me doing some of these things going, "Oh my God, he's still around? Cool!" I haven't seen or heard from them in 20, 30 years, but I'm still out there. People still know me. In social media, quite often I will sit there and say, "Hi, I'm Christopher Stewart, aka Jonathan Brandish, aka Alex Hyde-White, aka Shane Briant." Why? Well, in case there's someone who is actually familiar with Punky Brewster or Mission Impossible or Babylon 5, and they suddenly go, I know you from Babylon 5, don't I? Yeah, of course you do. And they go, oh, okay, cool. And the main reason why acting students need that is because acting students, when they are asking questions, they want to be answered by people who have at least some measure of experience. That's all. Okay? It's all pretty much smoke and mirrors. It's a magician's trick. Okay? I mean, come on. Is David Copperfield really David Copperfield, or is he some mysterious name that no one ever figures out, and that he sits back every day laughing because no one can figure out who he really is? You know, that's the whole point of it. Okay? You do get into situations where stage names can be very useful. For example, you're working for a high-class agent, and the agent doesn't want you working for that production. But it's a gig. You want to do it anyway. So you can convince your agent, because you're using a stage name that isn't the stage name or actual name that you use in everything else under that agent. And then they can go, okay, fine, the agency can disavow that particular company or that particular film. This happens a lot. You work with people like Roger Corman Productions. So many people in the industry, agent-wise, hated Roger Corman, and we still don't know why. But they would always hate working with, I mean, Roger himself would sit there and go, never put me on a resume. Never. Because my name there will blacklist you, period. And we'd sit there going, oh, come on, Roger, it can't be that bad. And he'd go, yes, it really is that bad. You know, which is, it's terrible. And we'd love to be able to turn around, look at Roger and tell him how wrong he is, but quite often we can't. Which is really terrible. But, you know, I mean, that's the kind of thing, okay? When you do things like I did, when you're working with directors who are in other countries, they finally were able to pull the strings together and get their film made. They look at you sometimes and go, you know, guys, you might want to just invent a name for the credits. One, you might not want to claim the fact that you were in this terrible picture. And two, it may have been copyrighted like before you were born kind of thing, so you may just want to invent a name. You know, and that's where a lot of things can come in. With stage names, what I did, and it's hilarious. I started working in film, and I was doing this at a very young age, and it started off being slightly serious because my name had been cut from credits, from the American credits of versions of Italian films. And then I stopped caring so much about it. And when I met Lee Van Cleef and started talking to him about it, oh my God, he just loved it. He said, okay, let's turn this around into your favor and really have fun. And I said, okay. And he got together with Shogasugi, and Lee Van Cleef and Shogasugi sat down with me, and I wrote down a name. And they wrote down 2 names each. And we throw them together in a hat. And every production, whether it was an extra role, what have you, we draw 3 names together, stick them together, and that would be the name for the production. Thus you have John Cleaverdon. And you have things like Glenn with Roe. You know, and we actually did this. Those are in the credits of several films. Glenn with Roe is in the credits of the Patriot, which people always get the wrong Patriot. I mean, there's 6 films called The Patriot, guys. Yes, it's the Leslie Nielsen version. You know, and John Cleaverdon, I think, was my name in House 2. You know, I mean, we had so much fun coming up with stuff that we literally just laughed every time. Okay? And some of the times it was because, what am I? I'm an extra. I'm an extras agent. Okay? So here I am walking on set as an extra with an extras agent. They, oh, okay, give us a name for the credits. Okay, here's a name. And there it is in the credits. Half the time, I don't even remember what they were anymore. And trying to find them, no thank you. But it does have a tendency to take on a life of its own, which is rather interesting. Sometimes your stage name can start to become so famous that you want to keep it. And you want to keep it reserved for specific areas and specific things. Okay? One of the best examples of this is my stage name, Shane Briant. When we started with the whole stage name thing, I was working with Peter Cushing over in England, and we were working on a Hammer Studios film. And he looked at me and said, "What is a stage name you would really like to do?" And I said, "Well, Shane is the son of my sensei. So let's use the first name Shane." And he said, "Cool." He looked at me and said, "What's one of your favorite cartoon characters?" I said, "Adam Ant." He said, "Perfectly. You'll be Shane Briant, or a Briant." And there actually is a British name, Briant, Briant. I always have to think twice when I spell my own name with it, which is rather funny. And so it worked. And probably no one would have ever noticed that, except I got a silver hammer for my performance. And then everybody noticed it. And then I started doing talk shows with regardings to Hammer Studios, and I started doing lots of stuff on television and radio for the BBC about how Hammer was coming back, how Amicus was coming back. And so all the fans of Hammer and Amicus were sitting there listening to me talk about how the productions were going and what we were doing with them, who we were working with, when the release times were. And they got so used to me talking on set with all of this stuff that they loved it. And I mean, my fans in England are just amazing. I love them to death. They are probably the best fans in the world. And you know, when I step on set, they cheer like nothing. They'll make Italy suddenly sound silent when they start cheering. I mean, it's great. And then I started doing other productions with it. Then I got onto a thing with Lisette Anthony about Who Should the Stars Marry. And everyone was all just sitting there ready to tell me that they don't believe that Chris is actually my name, that that's got to be my stage name that I tell people, and my real name has to be Shane Briant. Okay, so literally stage names can take a world of their own. Okay, my friends with Roger Corman Productions wanted to bring back Alex Hyde-White for Babylon 5. And the reason they wanted to do that was because they wanted me back in film. And they loved it, and they hated what had happened with Marvel Studios. They hated the whole nonsense of everything. So they wanted to show that I'm still here and I can come back. And they brought me on as Alex Hyde-White. And there's several names like that that I reserve for specific things. My name, Jonathan Brandish, even though I was forced to kind of declare that one dead because of paparazzi. Who listens to the paparazzi, guys? Nobody. Okay? I mean, really, is Jonathan Brandish really committing suicide? Is that really Britney Spears pregnant with Brad Pitt's love child? Yeah, that's about how serious it is. Okay? So when you think about it that way, you have to also realize what are the negative things that can happen to you when doing a stage name. Well, some of the negative things can be the paparazzi. Some of the negative things can be that people don't want to believe you. Quite often on social media, you constantly get this, "You're lying." Who cares? Okay? Just be yourself. You got the awards. You did the productions. You're not lying. And the people you worked with know you're not lying. So who cares about the general pop that says, "I don't care about anything, I just want to sound good and make my friends laugh"? Well, who cares? We don't need you. You know, it's very simple and easy. Lee Van Cleef used to laugh about stage names, going, the most fun thing about stage names is that if you make up a stage name, no matter what it is, you could say your name is Ishkabibble Sam. People will go out into the world to try and find an Ishkabibble Sam and prove they are alive and prove they did film. Which is hilarious. It really is. And, you know, people look at me and say, you know, what about these stage names that were declared dead or what have you? Who cares? I can come up with 1,000 stage names in 10 minutes. Do I care? No. There's only a couple of them that I really care about, and that's because the fans care about them. and it's because I will reuse them. Okay, if I ever do a James Bond film or work again for Hammer Studios, I'll be Shane Briant. I dropped the Simon Ward, I think it was, because he actually was an actor turned banker, and then when I came out, he started trying to say that it was him, and then everyone looked at him and said, how come you're such a terrible actor if that's you? And that got really bad for everyone concerned, and I just looked at him and said, sorry. And he said, that's okay, I'm over it, I'm a banker anyway. And we moved on with our lives. But I also never used that name again. I just went straight with Shane Briant. If I work in England, that's what I am. I keep the fans happy because that's what they want to see. I've been Christopher Stewart in a couple of things now and again. Generally, it's so hard. I get so many problems with producers and that kind of stuff that generally I end up dropping it and go with a stage name. It's just me. Maybe that'll change in the future. Jonathan Brandish I'll bring back if I ever work for Disney or do any family thing. I mean, the thing I loved about doing Punky Brewster was it was such a family-oriented show. And it was wonderful. I loved working with kids. It was just a joy. You know, here I am, the big kid, being the big brother to little kids and little brothers and sisters. And I was never that. I was the youngest in my family. And I finally got a chance to feel what it felt like to be a big brother. And that was cool. I loved it. And I'll do that again if I ever get the chance to work for Disney or a family-oriented thing. You know, and my stage name, Alex Hyde-White, I keep that mostly for science fiction, that kind of thing. We did do Biggles Adventures in Time in England that way. But, you know, it's one of those things that also depends on the makeup artist. Okay? When they throw the makeup on me for Shane Briant, they turn me into someone who looks British. When they do the makeup for Alex Hyde-White, they just kind of add a few touches and make me maybe look a little British, but mostly look American. So, you know, I go with it. And that's another thing. If you work with makeup artists who change your face, okay, do you want to be known as Christopher Stewart and, oh, really, I look differently in person? That's another problem. Okay, that's an often problem in film, is the fact that they did so much makeup to your face, no one would recognize you anyway. And especially if you add in a accent, you start talking in a British accent, a Scottish accent, a French accent. You even do other languages. You start talking in French in the film. Are they going to recognize you if you look French, sound French, and are speaking French? Probably not. So in that case, a stage name is great. Okay? But always remember, it's smoke and mirrors, guys. Women, ladies and gentlemen, it's smoke and mirrors. Nothing else. That's all it is. It's a trick to have in your arsenal. It's to sit there and say, I don't know if I want to really be known for doing this. Here, use this name for me in the credits. That way, at least, I have the decision of whether or not I want to be known for it. Okay? That's what the whole thing is. Mostly, stage names are just what you tell the credits. The rest, be damned. Now go and have fun. Thank you for your time.